We've been talking about three main levers that contribute to breath management: your skeleton and body alignment, your phonatory pattern, and today we're going to talk about the third lever, which is resonance or vocal tract shaping. In this video today, I'm going to show you how your resonance strategy, particularly the shapes you make above the vocal folds and where your larynx is, how that has a powerful effect on the sound you make and the speed in which air moves through you. Hey there, if you're new here, I'm Dan Callaway. I teach musical theater voice and vocal pedagogy at Boston Conservatory at Berkeley. More than 25 years on equity stages and more than 15 years helping singers get to work on Broadway national tours, regionally and around the world. And welcome. I'm very glad you're here with me today. When it comes to breath management, you're using three interacting systems or levers that have a direct impact on the breath energy you're moving out for singing. They are your body, your skeletal alignment and relationship, your phonatory pattern, which is how your vocal folds are vibrating, and resonance or amplification, how the sound waves are interacting after they have vibrated in your vocal folds. And all of these factors, your body's relationship and alignment, the way your folds are vibrating, and the way you're shaping your vocal tract, they all affect each other. And when one changes, there is an interaction with the other parts of the system. In the last video, we talked about how phonation types, breathy or with audible air, pressed or intensely muscled vibratory patterns, or balanced, more 50-50 patterns, we talked about how those patterns affect breath usage, air speed, and overall breath management. Today, we're moving downstream, although we're moving physically up, it's technically downstream. We're moving to how resonance and vocal tract shape affect your phonation and therefore your breath. So your vocal tract is an acoustic shaping tool. The incredible thing about having a human voice is that this instrument can change shapes in literally thousands of configurations. It's an amazing thing to know that this shaping actually has a retroactive effect on our vibration. It sends acoustic energy back into the folds and affects how efficiently or inefficiently they are vibrating. This is because of a phenomenon called Inertive reactance. Inertive reactance. That refers to the resistance to airflow caused by the inertia, the quality of being more stable or unchanged, of air in a confined space, particularly within the vocal tract. It's a form of acoustic impedance that causes a delay between pressure and flow, and this delay can be harnessed to reinforce vocal fold vibration and enhance vocal power. So when our vocal tracts are shaped in a way that supports the vibration of the folds, that is coordinated in a way that is supportive of efficiency, that is called inertive reactance. That is a positive acoustic relationship that gives our folds efficiency in motion and vibration. And please remember, all sounds are on the table. If you can make a sound over and over and it feels repeatable and sustainable, it's a sound you can make for whatever reason. It's really important to let yourself make all kinds of sounds so that you can compare and contrast them. Each sound has something to teach another sound. But some things that we do as singers that are not helpful or efficient, sometimes we over-open because someone told us to create an open throat feeling. Sometimes we spread really wide, which can promote bright color, but it can also lead to a domino effect of tensions into the extrinsic muscles of the larynx and the jaw. Sometimes we collapse the height of the soft palate, which also can be something that we leverage for specific effect. But when we know what these different mechanisms do and what the effects are, we can then start to feel how they coordinate and then utilize them, knowing what the outcomes will be when we move the tract into certain coordinations. So you can use your resonance strategy to support the phonatory pattern you want to use in all your vibrational choices, be it breathy or aspirate, more compressed or intense, or straight up 50-50 balanced flow. Your tract shaping will support you to make these choices maximally efficient. This means you'll be able to leverage your air and make conscious choices about how quickly you're using it, and you'll have agency over how that feels coming through, no matter your color or sound choices. Your muscles of exhale, your muscles of expiration will communicate well with your vibrating folds, and the shape of your instrument, your vocal tract, will contribute to efficiency and ease in the other direction. So you have this collaboration of breath energy from below and acoustic energy from above meeting and working together where the sound happens. You'll be able to tune your tract inside the energetic framework of your whole body, just like the tall animal image I talk about that cues your skeleton to make a good home for your breathing. you'll be able to access immediate cues that shape your tract and create a variety of vocal identities. So this is actually the first video in a series of videos. I'm going to give you 6 specific things, 6 things that are adjustable in the tract, and show you how you can test drive all of them. So they are larynx, tongue narrowing, pharyngeal constriction, soft palate location, tongue height or shape, and what your mouth is doing or your embouchure. This is going to demystify what's going on in your acoustic coordination from your folds to the opening of your mouth or nose, and you'll be able to readily affect these moving parts. I always say the major advantage of having a human instrument is that it is endlessly maneuverable. You can't change the shape of a clarinet or a piano or a violin. Their sonic constraints are limited by the immovable shape they're built in. Your voice, on the other hand, can take one of all kinds of shapes, and you literally have thousands of possibilities. So in today's video, we are going to focus on location number 1. So that is your larynx, the neighborhood or the orientation of your larynx, all right? So if your larynx is low, you will promote a lower frequency in your overtone amplification because you've made the tube from the vibration point to the opening of your mouth longer. Longer tube is lower frequency, okay? If you speak with a very high larynx, the tract will have a higher frequency output because you've made the tube much shorter, therefore higher frequencies in the vocal tract. So this information is super important because if I want to add some low frequency to a sound, I can allow my larynx to lower a little. And if I want to boost the higher overtones and higher frequency, I can let my larynx rise. So you have much more direct control over your larynx than you think probably. And ideally, I think we want a suspended, free floating feeling in the laryngeal family when we sing, able to respond to breath movement and tract influence. So that promotes a balanced and generous sound. But playing with the extremes gives you a lot of evidence that many things are possible, and you can make a lot of sustainable, repeatable sounds in lots of places. So I'm going to demo this to you with 2 different Rodgers and Hammerstein characters I've played, and you may be surprised by the strategy I used. And if you'd like a deeper dive on laryngeal position and laryngeal freedom, how the larynx responds to breath movement, how the larynx responds to vocal tract shaping, there are a lot of more detailed videos in the resource library that we're piloting this summer. So check that out in the description. So first, I got to play Curly in Oklahoma. It was about 10 years ago now. So I used a relatively low laryngeal neighborhood for Curly. So he would have been... There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. So I chose to let my larynx live a little lower because I felt like that's how Curly wanted to self-present. If my larynx were just a millimeter or 2 higher, it'd sound like, there's a bright golden haze on the meadow. There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. So there's a difference in identity there. I chose a lower larynx. There's a bright golden haze because I felt like Curly had something to prove and I wanted to boost a lower overtone in his voice. So other Curlies have made different choices. If you listen to Hugh Jackman do it back in 2000 at the National Theater and Patrick Wilson when he did a revival of it, they both have higher larynx when they sing the role. But if you listen to Gordon McRae on the Motion Picture album, his around her lower laryngeal position, I would say. And on the other side of this, so I actually got to play Emile DeBeck in South Pacific as well. And that is a true baritone role, and I am not a baritone. But thanks to acoustic shaping, an excellent sound engineer mixer, and not singing above E4 like there for about 2 months, I pulled it off. And it's counterintuitive because I used a higher larynx position to do it. Some enchanted evening, you may see a stranger. You may see a stranger across a crowded room. So I actually raised my larynx because my folds actually don't have a lot of leverage in those pitches. So at that time, with the technical knowledge I had, I decided to make the environment as boosty as possible. So I wanted to actually shorten my vocal tract in order to amplify higher frequencies, because I felt like if I had had a lower larynx, I wouldn't have had as much acoustic leverage. If I'd sung the same phrase with a lower larynx with the skills I had at that time, it would have sounded more like let me see if I can do this honestly. Hang on. Some enchanted evening, you may see a stranger. You may see a stranger across a crowded room. Okay, so that is a choice. That would have probably been fine, but I chose the higher larynx because it gave me a shorter tube, and that boosted high frequency and gave me acoustic support. So this is a tool you can play around with. You can sing phrases with a really high larynx, a really low larynx, and then explore what's in the middle. So, I mean, I can go, let me start real low with, some enchanted evening, and I'll come high. You may see a stranger, and I'll just settle it down a little bit. You may see a stranger across a crowded room. And so you can really just play. It gives you evidence that you have a ton of agency and choice when it comes to where your larynx lives and can move. But I will tell you, when I played Emile, I didn't know how to leverage the next factor that I'm going to tell you about in the upcoming video, and that is anterior, posterior narrowing with the back of the tongue. And that actually is a big game changer. So when I explain that to you, I'll do some more Enchanted Evening and tell you how I would handle the role today if I were to sing it. But that's what I had at the time. But look at that with laryngeal depth and height, and play around with lots of different images with what your larynx can do. If I'm going to really lower the larynx, I'm going to get a very long tube, a lot of low frequency. A lot of times we lose acoustic leverage when we really pull the larynx low. So watch that. If you're vocalizing down, our brain thinks down, so it wants to pull the larynx down. So if I pull the larynx low, so just letting my larynx come into a medium to high position on that lower pitch just gives me more acoustic boost. So watch that as you're vocalizing down. And you can even play around with like a really high larynx as you're singing low, like, hey. It's literally that silly and fun to play with laryngeal position. A lot of people, gosh, I mean, we've gotten really neurotic about the larynx, because so many, oh man, anyway, it comes from, a Western classical tradition of this idea of the low larynx, because it creates this generously, lengthy tube in which we can find the singer's formant and things like that. But I feel like we've gotten a little crazy about the larynx, and I think playing games with it like this is very, very helpful, because it allows for a lot of evidence for how much you can actually move it and have fun with it. And you can actually decide, oh wait, I can move it really high, I can move it really low, and then there's a whole continuum of possibility along the middle, all right? So play around with that. That has something to do with, so the higher my larynx is, honestly, the slower my breath is probably going to move through. The lower my larynx, probably less efficiency. So play around with those ideas, and then you can decide accordingly. Your laryngeal position is going to really be determined by the identity of the character. Yeah. So like I said, my identity of Curly had a lower larynx. My identity of Emile, I had a lot of warm color, really high palate, lots of things, but I raised my larynx a little bit so that I could have a little more acoustic energy in these low ranges where my voice doesn't have a lot of leverage. I can sing the notes, but I'm not a baritone. A real baritone would blow me out of the water acoustically. So I had to use the tools I had. And some other ways that you can just play with laryngeal awareness, you can literally just do some sirens. So even if you have them like a siren and head voice, I'll do a siren with a really low larynx. Ooh, very yawny, right? My larynx is pulled down. I could do a siren with a very high larynx. And then I can siren all around, moving my larynx in all sorts of different locations, right? Moving. it's kind of fun to like move your larynx up while you're going down in pitch. That's kind of fun too. That's really good for your brain. Yeah, to sort of start cross-directionally training things. Yeah, because it's counterintuitive to raise the larynx as we're going down in pitch. Our brain is thinking down. The larynx wants to also pull down. So watch that. And you could do the, you know, too high, too low, middle thing as well. And just feel how nice it feels to come to the middle. And then just notice also, what is the effect on breath? What is the effect on how breath is moving through when my larynx is in these positions? None of these sounds are wrong. All of these sounds I could make over and over again. So they're all sustainable. They're all on the table and they all have something to teach the others. So it's really good to just really let yourself get in the laboratory and find out what feels good and what kind of sound you want to make for what song, for what character. Give yourself a lot of liberty to play and make a lot of sounds. You know, a writer is going to, they always say, you know, get it all out on the page, get your rough draft all out, and then you go back and edit. It's the same with singing. You want to get all the sounds out. You want to get all the sounds working so that you can play with possibilities. And because the new sounds that you make are going to inform the kinds of sounds that you want to craft for whatever song you're singing. So really just get this, I really want to drive this point home. Your larynx, there isn't like a right place for your larynx to be. Yeah, it's the place for your larynx to be according to the song you're singing, the character you're playing, the sounds you want to make, and you have all kinds of agency in what you can do as far as laryngeal position. What matters most is that you can feel it, you can guide it, and you can use that knowledge to create the sound you want. Yeah, so I don't know. Like I use the inside out characters a lot. Like if I'm sadness, my larynx is really low. And if I'm disgust, my larynx is really high. Yeah. So those sorts of characters, you know, if you listen to cartoon characters and say, where is their larynx? Ask yourself these questions, empathetically listen. Where does their larynx live in their body and why? And that's what this whole series is going to be about, helping you discover what the parts of your vocal tract do and how to shape them with confidence and clarity so that you know what's going on, you start to feel what's going on, and then you have direct control and management over things that you can do as a singer, as an artist. So if this opened up some possibility for you, I'm making a full playlist out of these concepts where I'm going to walk you through all these movable parts of your vocal tract. So just to get your brain thinking on these, your laryngeal position, the back of your tongue's relationship to the pharynx. So that's going to be anterior, posterior narrowing in the tract, your tongue's overall position, your pharyngeal management, managing constriction in the pharynx, your soft palate's location, what is going on with jaw opening, with mouth, all of these things. So these elements I'm going to go over in a series of digestible videos so that I don't overwhelm you with too big a deep dive. I feel like these little elements, you can stack them one by one. Oh, what's my larynx doing? Oh, how is my tongue narrowing? Can I feel my soft palate? What does my pharynx feel like? How is my tongue in my mouth? What's going on with jaw opening? What's going on with the muscles of my mouth and my cheeks, etc. So once you start to explore them separately, you can then start to put them all together. So just make sure you subscribe and turn on the alerts so you can get notified when the new videos come through. And if you want more structured guidance on this with tools and a framework that is mapped according to the systems of singing, go ahead and check out the resource library. I will put that link down in the description, and that will help you integrate all of this. That is a systematic library structured along the lines of the systems of the voice so that you start to understand your voice as interactive systems. I'm uploading new content to that all the time. We have a community of folks who are there supporting each other, and we're still running a summer beta version of that. So you can get in there and tell me what you need and I will build it for you. There's also Dan GPT, an AI agent that's trained on all of my YouTube videos, blog posts, all the material in the library that you can interact with. It gives you specialized practice plans. It can tell you how to troubleshoot certain vocal issues according to information from all of the text from the videos and things that I've created. And for the summer, we have 2 Q&As every month. So you can get on the Q&A, ask me your questions. We've had a couple of really good ones so far. So check that out in the description and see if that's of interest and will help you. All right, so that is how your larynx, the position of your larynx, affects your resonance strategy. In the next video, I'm going to talk about your tongue and its ability to narrow. We're going to talk about anterior, posterior narrowing of the tongue. And I'm also going to tell you how that would affect how I would sing Emile de Bec if I were ever played again. In the meantime, you can check out this video about the tongue and its relationship to resonance. It's a pretty deep dive on that sort of aspect. So if you get your brain wrapped around what I'm talking about in that video, The next one on the tongue will be a cinch for you to incorporate into your own technique. And most of all, I want you to remember and just say this with me. I invite you to say, there's only one me, and somebody would love to hear the story only I can sing, because it's true. All right. Love much. Now go sing.